Welcome to my YouTube series on the fascinating development of the teenage brain. I'm Dr. Fred Romanuk. I am both a clinical psychologist and a problem-solving expert. In the past, more than 10,000 people were trained in my problem-solving system. That's a lot of people. In the future, very few, if any, will be trained in my process. My logical, rational seven-step system does not fit the thinking style of the new digital generation. So I retired seven-step. I spent over 2 years researching the development of the digital teenage brain and then created thinking tools specifically designed for them. My first video is titled The Teenage Brain and the Smartphone, a Love Story. Enjoy.
The Teenage Brain and the Smartphone, a Love Story by Dr. Fred Romanuk. The sound of a notification on your smartphone. The sound that you just can't ignore. The sound that thousands of people all over the world eagerly wait for. You feel compelled to reach for your smartphone to check the notification. And every time you hear that ding, your brain produces a blip of the pleasure chemical dopamine, which is responsible for all addictions. Your brain loves to produce dopamine because it makes you feel so good. Your brain can't produce it on demand, though. It needs a trigger. It needs a ding. Get the picture? Teenagers spend an average of 6 hours per day glued to a smartphone screen. That's 6 hours of constant dings, 6 hours of dopamine blips. While millions of neurons were making thousands and thousands of connections, the smartphone was rewiring the teenage brain. The adolescent brain finally had an unlimited supply of new information. The adolescent brain felt powerful. It felt invincible. The smartphone became the extension of the brain. And the adolescent brain fell in love with the smartphone. The adolescent brain has been rewired to become a digital brain with an ultra-short attention span, to multitask with ease, for more effective subconscious thinking, to create a new processing center, a digital processing center. Digital brains think differently than the brains of all previous generations. They make decisions differently, not by analysis but by gut feel. They process information differently, not step by step, but intuitive leaps of thinking. They evaluate information differently, not with logic but values. This digital generation could realize more of the potential of the human brain than ever before. This generation grew up with a smartphone at their fingertips. They have never known a world where a smartphone was not within reach. They grew up with a supercomputer in the palm of their hands. A supercomputer that is 100,000 times more powerful than the computer that NASA used to send astronauts to the moon. A supercomputer to connect with all of their friends and with thousands of websites. They use a smartphone as a primary language. Using a smartphone is as natural to them as walking and talking. They are the digital generation. They grew up with Siri and Alexa as personal friends. Friends who check their mail, their bank account, their messages, and their Facebook. Friends who answer questions, who get directions, who check notifications, and to wake them up in the morning. For the first time in history, life in front of a smart screen is more exciting than real life without the screen. The brain wants us to become all that we can be, to achieve its primary mandate to survive and its secondary mandate to thrive, to achieve our full potential. But there are obstacles along the road to a quality life. Emotional distress, addictions, depression, loneliness, obsessions, chronic stress, and high anxiety can slow down or stop the development of the brain. However, even the smartest brain can be tricked, can be fooled into believing that pleasure chemicals are equivalent to surviving and thriving. Many neuroscientists believe that adolescents are becoming unempathic, shallow, lack judgment, depressed, poor people skills, relationship lonely, emotionally starved. The smartphone has brought incredible life benefits, but is it interfering with the development of the life skills needed to make good life decisions? And we can help the brain to develop better thinking skills by building on the strengths of digital brain thinking. Buckminster Fuller, one of the great educators of the 20th century, said you can't teach people to think, but you can give them thinking tools that produce thinking. And that is what I have done. I have created 20 digital think tools to activate the brain to think. Even when the brain is engaged on another task, even while the brain is sleeping, the brain will be thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. If you enjoyed this presentation, check out my book, #YourLife, Think Tools for the Digital Brain, available on Amazon. And purchase a subscription to my digital think tools at thinktoolbox.com, or better yet, purchase a subscription code for a teenager.